Welcome to Mindful Leadership, Transforming Lives, with your host, Singh. This is where leadership meets purpose, presence, and passion. In today's fast paced, high pressure world, we face a leadership crisis. Too often, teams are led by managers who lack empathy, clarity, and vision, leaving individuals uninspired, disconnected, and undervalued. But it doesn't have to be this way. Great leadership isn't born, it's built. The end game: empower your leadership, inspire the world. Every week, join me, your host Singh, as we tackle the gaps in leadership and life coaching head on, learning how mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and compassion can redefine success. This isn't just another podcast, it's a mission to fill the void left by ineffective leadership. And it's not just about leadership in business. Life coaching for leaders and new executives is at heart of this journey. Ready to rise above the noise and lead with clarity, purpose, and impact? Join a global movement dedicated to reshaping the future of leadership one mindful moment at a time. Let's begin. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Leadership on the Transformation Network, the podcast where we turn stress into strategy, overthinking into clarity, and overwhelm into momentum. I'm your host, Singh, the leadership coach who knows that growth does not happen through burnout, it happens through alignment. Let's begin. All right. Today, let's talk about something we all avoid, like an email with the subject line, "Can we chat?" Difficult conversations. They are like ripping a band aid off a hairy arm. You know it's going to sting. You are bracing for it, but yet somehow it's still worse than you imagined. But here's the kicker: if you leave the band aid on forever, now you have got irritation, resentment, and glue residue all over your leadership style. So, yes, we are talking about avoiding tough talks. That is like ignoring your check engine light. Sure, you're cruising along, windows down, music up, but eventually you are stranded on the leadership highway. Hood up, trust leaking everywhere, and your team guilty, quietly Googling how to spot a toxic box. And let's be real, every hard conversation that you dodge is putting emotional debt on your leadership credit card. And when the bill comes due, the interest is brutal because it is paid in disengagement, resentment, and awkward silence in meetings where everyone is staring at the laptops, pretending they are too busy to notice the elephant in the room. But not today. Today, we are going to rip off that band aid. By the end of this episode, you will have a proven three-step framework, a cheat code for handling tough talks without the panic, without the drama, and without needing a post meeting therapy session. Because avoiding the hard stuff, that is not leadership, that's procrastination wrapped in a business suit. So grab your notebook, put on your big leader pants, and let's get into it. Let's begin this session right here. Let's dive into why avoidance is the ultimate and silent killer of trust in leadership. If you ever thought, maybe if I just ignore this problem, it will fix itself, you're not alone. That is human nature to avoid discomfort. But here's the bad news. When you are a leader, avoidance does not backfire, it explodes. Let me paint a picture for you. You have got a team member who is consistently missing deadlines. It is not a one off, it is on every project. And instead of addressing that issue head on, you tell yourself, it's not a big deal. I don't want to make things awkward. So, what happens? Well, here is what does not happen: the problem does not magically disappear. What happens is your other team members start noticing and they are thinking, why is this okay? Why am I busting my tail off to meet deadlines when this person gets a free pass? Now, you have got two problems instead of one: a performance issue, and now a team that is losing trust in your leadership. And here's the kicker: the longer you avoid it, the bigger the trust gap becomes. Avoidance just does not let problems linger, It sends a message. And the message is I care more about my own comfort than I do about solving this problem. Now I get difficult conversations are uncomfortable. They are like going to dentist appointment and finding you need a root canal. But avoiding them, that's like skipping the appointment altogether and hoping your teeth just magically fix themselves. Well, they don't. Let's bring this to real life. Think about recent buzz around remote work policy. It's been a couple of years, and companies are still scrambling to figure out how to balance flexibility with productivity. And most of the leaders are avoiding tough conversation altogether, letting issues like missed meetings or unclear accountability slide because they don't want to rock the boat. But here is the deal: every time you avoid addressing those small cracks, you are letting the foundation begin. It starts weakening, it starts cracking, and eventually the cracks turn into full blown collapse. So, avoidance does not protect anyone, it is just putting a duct tape on a leaky pipe. You did not fix the issue, you are just delaying the flood. Let's talk about this idea of emotional debt. Every time you avoid a tough conversation, you are swiping your leadership credit card. And sure, it feels fine in the moment because there is no awkwardness, no conflict. But think about the bill that comes due. And when it does, the interest on that is brutal. It looks like resentment from your team, declining morale, missed opportunities to grow. And the worst part, once trust is broken, it is incredibly hard to rebuild. And here's the thing: leadership is not about making everyone like you, it is about earning their trust. And trust is not built by avoiding hard stuff, it is built by showing up even when it is uncomfortable. Okay, let's pause for a second because I know what you might be thinking. But Singh, what if I just wait long enough and the problem solves itself? Well, I love optimism as much as the next person, but that is like hoping your phone will charge itself just because you're thinking about plugging it in. Does it happen? No. Avoidance is not leadership, it is just conflict avoidance with a LinkedIn profile. And let's be real, your team knows when you're avoiding something. People are not dumb. They will fill in the blanks themselves, and usually they will assume the worst. Because you don't address issues, the narrative becomes they don't care enough to fix this. In NBA, coaches deal with egos, underperformance, and locker room tension all the time. If a coach avoids addressing a star player who is slacking off, the rest of the team notices. And because the whole team's chemistry falls off, and you're watching your championship hopes spiral down the drain. But great coaches, they address it head on. They have the tough conversation even when the stars. Why? Because they know that ignoring one problem can derail the entire team. So the truth is, avoiding tough conversation is not just about protecting yourself, it is about avoiding growth. Because every difficult conversation is an opportunity. It is not only an opportunity to fix the problem, it is an opportunity to build trust. When you show up and say, hey, this is not working and we need to talk about it, you're not just solving problem, you're showing your team that you care enough to address the hard stuff. And here is what I want you to do. Think about one conversation you have been avoiding. Maybe it is a member who is underperforming. Maybe it is a peer who keeps overstepping boundaries. Whatever it is, just write it down. And let me share this quick 3-step framework to handle that conversation like a pro. Because leadership is not about perfection, it's about presence. And first step in solving a problem is showing up for it. All right. The part where we talk about all awkwardness, tension, sweaty palm moments of tough conversation and turn them into confidence, clarity, and dare I say it, leadership wins. So let's magic start. I'm introducing you to three-step framework, CLE. Simple, direct, and easy to use. It works every time, unless you try it on a toddler. That's different. So I have a white toddler because toddlers don't care about frameworks, but adults, this is our secret weapon. So step one is clarify. Before you even open your mouth, get brutally clear on what the actual problem is. Ask yourself what the real issue is here. What is the impact of team or organization? Because if you are not clear, you're walking into that conversation like someone trying to assemble IKEA furniture without looking at instruction. Sure, you will get something built, but it will probably going to be wobbly and nobody wants sitting on it because, well, it does not seem comfortable. Let's say you have a team member who has been given deadlines and has been missing deadlines. Don't just march into the office and say, hey, you have been slacking off. That's not clarity. That's frustration with a side of drama. Instead, clarify the last three deadlines have been missed, which has delayed the project by a week and caused extra work for the team. Now, see, when you clarify, you're not just identifying the problem, you're defining its impact. And when you walk into a conversation with that level of perfect precision and commitment that you have done your homework, you're already ahead 90% of the leaders. Think of clarifying like cleaning your glasses before reading an email that already made you mad. You might realize it was not as bad as you thought, or maybe it's worse, but at least now you know why. Either way, clarity is your best friend. All right. Step two is to listen. And I don't mean wait for your turn to talk listening. No, I mean, I'm going to let you talk enough to surprise me listening. Because here's the thing, most leaders think they are great at listening, but in reality, they are just mentally drafting their rebuttal while the other person is talking. This is not listening, that's debate preparation. When you really listen, you're showing your team member that you value their perspective, and that alone can diffuse a lot of tension. And here's how you do it. Ask open-ended question. Start with something like, can you walk me through what is been going on? Or help me understand what is making this challenging. Think of it like trying a decipher without your toddler just said, right? What was it truck or was it the other thing? Context matters. And the only way to get context is to listen. Look at the recent controversies around companies mandating people to return to office. Leaders are saying, we need you back in the building, while employees are pushing back saying, why? We have been productive from home. Now, if those leaders actually sat down and really listened, they would hear the deeper concerns, work life balance, commute time, or even childcare. And maybe, just maybe, they would find a solution that works for everyone. But you cannot get there if you're not willing to listen. Listening is not just a leadership style, it is a survival skill. If you have ever missed the part where your partner said, don't forget to take out the trash, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The consequences, immediate and painful. Now, step three, engage. This is where the magic happens. Engaging is about not about blaming, shaming, or playing prosecutor. It's about co-creating a solution. Ask what we can do to improve this together. Notice the word there, we. When we say we, you are inviting collaboration. You are showing that you are invested in the overall success and you're willing to work with them to fix the issue. Let's go back to that team member who has been showing up late instead of saying, why are you always late? Which, let's be honest, is just going to put them on defensive. You use this framework, clarify, hey, I noticed you have been late 3 times this week. and it's disrupting morning workflow. Listen, is there something going on that is making it tough to get here on time? And then engage. What can we adjust to make sure you are here on time and the team stays on track? See the difference. You're not just pointing out the problem, you're inviting them to be part of the solution. And when people feel like they are part of solution, they are way more likely to follow through. Think of engaging like assembling IKEA furniture with a friend. Sure, it might take a little longer and someone is going to misplace an Allen wrench, but in the end, you get something solid and nobody is feeling alone in the process. And here is why the CLE framework works. It is simple, it's direct, and it focuses on solution instead of blame. Most tough conversations go off rail because they are reactive. Someone gets defensive, someone else doubles down, and before you know it, you are in shouting match that solves nothing. But with CLE framework, you're not reacting, you're leading. You are always showing up with clarity. You are listening with empathy, and you're engaging in a way that builds trust, not tension. Now, that is leadership. Think about one tough conversation you have been avoiding. Maybe it's a team member, maybe it is with a peer, or even your boss. Just clarify the issue. What is the real problem? What is the impact of that problem? Plan one open ended question to ask and think about how you can engage to co create the solution. And then here is the hard part, actually have the conversation. Trust me, when you use CLE framework, you will feel more confident, your team will feel more respected, and you will start building the kind of trust that keeps people engaged for a long haul. So write it down, try it out, and let me know how it goes. DM me your story using hashtag getting clear or share your results in the comments. I would love to hear from you. Now, let's take the conversation from theoretical to real world because nothing connects more than a good story, right? Let's start with something we have been watching for months, the Hollywood strikes. Writers, actors, and studios logged in some of the toughest conversations about fair pay, AI, and future of the work. If you have been following the news, you know this was not just a polite email chain. These were deeply emotional, high stakes conversation where both sides felt unheard for years. But here is what I want you to notice. The leaders who stepped into those talks, the negotiators on both sides, they did not win by avoiding the hard issues. They did not walk in saying, let's just agree to disagree. No, they tackled the big stuff, the things people didn't want to say aloud, and they did it with clarity. With the writer's demand around AI, that is a scary futuristic topic. Studios wanted flexibility to use AI to cut cost, and writers were saying, hey, we don't want to be replaced by a chatbot. Now, that's not just a business issue, that is existential. And yet, instead of letting those fears spiral into chaos, both sides sat down, got clear on what they wanted, and worked towards a solution. Now, I'm not going to say it was pretty. I'm sure there were moments where someone wanted to flip the negotiating table. I can almost ascertain that. But they stayed in the room. They had the hard conversations, and at the end, they reached an agreement that moved the industry forward. Now, maybe you're not leading Hollywood negotiations, but let's zoom in something more universal. How about remote work policies? Just 2 months back, right? Zoom, the company that became the face of remote work, announced they wanted their employees back in the office at least part time. Now, can you imagine that conversation? Hey, we built an empire on working from home, but we need you back at your desks. I mean, talk about irony, right? And you can bet those meetings were not smooth sailing. Employees were thinking probably, wait, aren't we the poster child for remote work? Why are we changing now? Now, the leaders at Zoom had to navigate that minefield. And here is what we learn from it. Instead of just issuing a top down order, they address the concerns head on. They explained the why. They clarified that in person collaboration was critical for certain projects while still offering flexibility. Was it perfect? Probably not. But by showing up with transparency and listening to their employees' concern, they avoided a full on revolt. So here is the takeaway. Whether you are negotiating Hollywood contract or asking your team to come back to office, tough conversations are unavoidable. The leaders who succeed are not the ones who try to sugarcoat everything to avoid issue altogether. They are the ones who show up with clarity, who listen deeply, and who invite collaboration. See, leadership is not about being perfect, it's about being present. Because when you address the hard stuff, when you lean into the discomfort, you build trust. And trust is the backbone of a successful team. And let's be honest, avoiding tough conversations does not make them go away. It is like ignoring that weird smell in your fridge. You know it is there, your family know it is there, and eventually someone is pulling out a hazmat suit to deal with the forgotten leftovers in the back, right? The same thing happens with unresolved issues in leadership. They don't disappear. They just get smellier over time, right? Think about a tough conversation you have been putting off. Maybe it's performance, maybe it is about expectations, or maybe it's just about pivoting on a project that is not working. Ask yourself, what is the real issue and what is the impact? Start there, and then, as we have been talking about, lean on the CLE framework, clarify, listen, and engage. Because here's the truth, leadership is not about avoiding hard stuff. It's about showing up, it's about speaking up, it's about growing through it. And if the screenwriters and Zoom executives could do it, we can do it too. So let's rip the bandit off. Your team is waiting for you to lead. And trust me, when you lean into something tough, talks with clarity and courage, they will thank you for it, even if it is not immediate. Now, here is challenge for you. We have talked about today and put it in practice because let's be honest, listening to a podcast without taking action is like buying a treadmill and using it for your core track. Great intentions, the results. So the challenge for this week is easy to remember CLE framework. So identify one tough conversation you have been avoiding. Think about it, whatever it is, right? About your team dropping the ball, a peer who keeps overstaying boundaries. Maybe it's even with your boss about that promotion you know you have earned and haven't asked for it. Write it down. Be serious about it. Commit to it because the first step to ripping the band aid off is admitting there is a band aid. There is a band aid in the first place, right? Then clarify. Clarify the issue. Get laser focused on the problem and ask yourself what exactly is the problem? What is the impact on the team, the project, the organization, individually as a group? Right? This is where you channel your inner detective. You're not just solving the mastery of why does this feel awkward. You're getting clear on the facts. Now plan one open-ended question to ask. Now, this part becomes secret sauce. You don't go into this conversation guns blazing with accusations or assumptions, but you go in with curiosity. Can you walk me through what has been going on? What do you think is getting in the way here? Can you identify two or three different things that we could do to change this? Right? Open ended questions are like relationship superglue. They keep the dialogue flowing and help you get into the root of the issue. And then brainstorm a collaborative solution. Now, this will be a shift from problem to solution mode. Ask what we can do together to fix it. How can I support you in making this better? Is there anybody else we can get involved to get this moving forward? Notice the word we. It is a very small word, but it is game changer. It shows you are in it together And that builds trust faster than any team building retreat ever could. And here is where I want you to post it and hear your conversation. Once you have had those tough conversations, DM me. DM me your biggest takeaways on LinkedIn using hashtag getting clear. Tell me what worked, what surprised you. And hey, if it went completely sideways, tell me that too. We are all learning here. And because I've got your back, I've created difficult conversation starter guide just for you. If you're thinking, I don't even know where to begin, this guide will give you exact scripts and strategies to kick things off. Again, DM me on LinkedIn with the word convo, CONVO, and I will send it free to you. Now, let me leave you with this. Leadership is not about being perfect, it's about being brave, it's about showing up, speaking up, and doing the hard things that move your team, your organization, and yourself forward. Even every tough conversation you have is like a deposit in trust bank. And trust is currency of leadership. Without it, you're broke, no matter how fancy your title is. All right. If you're feeling stuck, I have got you covered. I told you I've created the free difficult conversation starter guide. It will help you kick things off. DM me the word convo. Now, I will leave you with this. Tough conversation does not just fix problems. They build relationships. They show your team that you care enough to address the hard stuff. And trust is not built in easy moments. It is built in the awkward, uncomfortable, this could go sideways moments. That's where magic happens. So lead loud, lead proud, and above all, lead with clarity. Next week, we are diving into the art of balancing logic and emotion in leadership. Because let's face it, sometimes you have got to be the spook of part Oprah, but you won't want to miss it. You have been listening to Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives on Transformation Network with Singh. Subscribe, leave a review, and grab your difficult conversation starter guide in the show notes. Until then, let's keep it real, keep it human, and above all, keep it clear. Be the leader your team deserves. I'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching Mindful Leadership Transforming Lives. With me, your host, Singh. We are honored to have you join us on this journey to explore the transformative power of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, and authentic leadership. Tune in every week on transformationtalkradio.com at noon Pacific on Tuesdays, where we will continue to explore how mindful leadership can create a ripple effect of positive changes in your life and lives of those you influence. This show is dedicated to helping you lead with purpose, presence, and passion. Whether you're navigating the complexities of business, building strong connection with your team, or striving to make a meaningful impact in the world around you. To learn more about the show, access additional resources, or dive deeper, visit singhpowerupcoach.com. Remember, leadership isn't just about what you do, it's about who you are. Let's continue to transform lives together, one mindful moment at a time. See you next week.